We are just one day away from yet another AEW pay-per-view. We are only 1 week removed from AEW All In, but tomorrow night we go all out in Chicago. Jason Marcus once again here with Willie Thrill for another special episode of Top Rope Takes. Coming to you live. Well, not live, we're taped, but we're here on a Friday talking AEW exclusively. So all you WWE marks, sorry, this one's not for you. But Will, we're here, and we're here, and I'm excited for predictions episode of Top Rope Takes.
Yeah, I'm excited to predict this all out show. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to watch this live. I'm working Saturday into Sunday, and I don't know what kind of Wi-Fi I'm going to be getting out there in Sag Harbor. So
Yes.
it's going to be tough for me to watch this live, but I think this is a great card. I think All Out has a history of being a really good show.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I would go back to All Out 2021 being like one of AEW's premier pay-per-views. You say what you want about All Out 2022 and the stuff that happened afterwards, but it was a fun card, and we got the rise of the Acclaimed as well as Swerve Strickland, who we're going to talk about on this show.
Yes.
And 2023 was like an unexpected banger because they only had a week build.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of people didn't have a lot of expectations. But then we got Ricky Starks and Brian Danielson. We got Takeshita and Omega. So
Good memory.
they had some good matches on a show that I think not a lot of people were expecting to be good. So, and I kind of have that same feeling here where it's,
Yeah.
they've only had 2 weeks build, but for a 2 week build, it's looking like a fun card. And I'm looking forward to watching the show whenever I
It's
do get
like
the chance
I
to
think I
watch
said
it.
this on our episode this earlier this week, where the one thing AEW does really well is pay-per-views, man. Like they just know how to make it feel special and know how to knock it out of the park. So I have no doubt it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a great card. I'm personally like, do we really need AEW All In and All Out 2 weeks apart? Like, feels very unnecessary. But here we are. We got another great show of wrestling. Let's dive right into it. Currently, there are only not only there are 8 matches announced. I feel like that could tick up to as much as 10 potentially. But we'll go with just the 8 that are officially announced as of this recording. Let's start with the match for no title, but it is a Chicago street fight. Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander with Stokely Hathaway. This has been a feud that has been brewing for quite a while now. Chris Statlander had some momentum recently. What do you say, you? What direction are we going here in Chicago?
Well, before we get to that match, I do want to comment on this card because you mentioned 8 matches, could be 10. I really hope they don't add any other
Yeah,
matches on this card. I think 8 is like a perfect card. Like 7 to 8 matches is like a sweet spot for me
yeah.
for like AEW pay-per-view cards. Um, but we'll come to it later in one of these matches. But I think there's a big omission from this pay-per-view that I'm kind of boggled by.
Mm-hmm.
As far as this match goes,
There's
it's
two
great to
big
see
omissions.
two Long Islanders in a Chicago street fight. That's great. I hope they show why New York style's better than deep dish.
Copy.
Uh, what's great is Chris Statlander, if I can make a little plug here, is coming
Yes.
to Create a Pro Wrestling
Oh,
September 22nd.
hey.
And so, how cool would it be if she came to Long Island, Create a Pro with the CMLL championship? That would be pretty fun.
Pretty
I'd
cool.
be pretty cool, but unfortunately, I do think Willow Nightingale, the other
Ah,
Long Islander, is going to come out with the victory,
bummer.
retain her title. But it just makes sense storyline. This thing has been brewing for months now. I think it's good to have the big baby face on top, and then maybe this can transition Willow back into the TBS title picture.
I think that's a good shout because I do agree that we haven't really done the Mercedes Monet Willow Nightingale stuff that we were building to for a while, and then we got completely distracted with other things for. So yeah, I agree with you. I think Willow's going to win here. I didn't realize it was for the CMLL title, which shows how dialed I am into AEW recently. Why? I don't know, because neither of these women are, from my understanding, of Latin heritage. So
Well, it's because Stephanie Vaquer was so busy with all of her WWE dates that she couldn't make the title defense for her CMLL title. So
Okay.
they had to relinquish it. They gave it to Willow Nightingale, because Stephanie Vaquer is really busy with all those WWE dates that she's
Yes.
doing, as we
Yes.
see her all the time on
All the
WWE.
time. Yep.
But apparently things are cool. According to Stephanie Vaquer, things are cool between her and CMLL. That's beside the point. I agree with you 100%. I think AEW has enough titles. I think we
Mm.
don't need to add from outside promotions titles
Yeah.
to their shows unless the storyline dictates it.
Yeah.
I'm already like I get the visual of having Mercedes Moné with two titles, but even having the New Japan Strong title on TV is a bit much. And then on top of any other like titles,
Yeah.
unless we're like rocking with the story of like a belt collector type gimmick, I just think AEW should focus on the titles they have in their own company.
No, I completely agree. It feels unnecessary. But we are in agreement as well that Willow Nightingale is going to pick up the big win here. It all out. All right. Let's move on now to a fatal four-way match for the AEW Continental Championship. We only know one of the four participants, and that's because he is the current champion. So Kazuchika Okada is going to defend against three challengers. As of this recording, those three challengers have not been announced. However, we do know the three qualifying matches that are going to take place to determine those challengers. They will be taking place on Collision, and the first match is Orange Cassidy versus the Bad Apple Brian Keith. We are going to get Mark Briscoe versus Lance Archer. And we are going to get Konosuke Takeshita versus the Beast Mordos. So, Will, I don't pretend to be a fortune teller or someone who can see into the future, but I have a very strong inclination about which three are going to be winning those matchups and heading to All Out. I correct me if you disagree at all, but I believe we will be seeing Orange Cassidy, Konosuke Takeshita, and Mark Briscoe at All Out. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's pretty obvious if you watch Dynamite and you're just like a normal wrestling fan, you can kind of pick up that that's going to be the three in the match. I mean, that's who Okada interacted with on Dynamite. We saw him go face to face with Konosuke Takeshita. We saw his buddies and the Elite go after Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, as well as the Blackpool Combat Club because of their involvement and all that stuff. So I definitely see that being the three. Here's where I'm kind of baffled because I'm looking up and down this card, and there was a certain name that made his debut at All In that isn't listed on this card, and
That's a great call.
is Ricochet.
Yes.
And why is Ricochet not thrown into this match? Like, I think he could get a lot of great stare downs. He doesn't have to take the pin. He could look great in a fatal four-way type setting. That part kind of baffles me, but I guess what their plan is for a match later is that he'll come out and go face to face with a different champion who might be retaining their title. As far as my prediction for this match, I think Okada is going to retain. I think they're building Okada being the champ going into the Continental Classic later in the year. But I'm excited about some of these interactions. We saw some great interactions between Orange Cassidy and Okada at the Casino Gauntlet match and All In. I think Takeshita and Okada is really exciting because there was, a lot of wrestling pundits were saying that Takeshita could possibly be the next Okada. So to have Takeshita and Okada go face to face, that's really exciting for all those people that might have predicted that in years past. And I think it should be an exciting match. I think AEW really knocks it out of the park with Fatal Four Ways. I think back to the Four Pillars match.
Yeah.
At Double or Nothing last year. I think back to the Forbidden Door match where it was like Orange Cassidy, Zack Sabre Jr., Shibata, and I think Daniel Garcia, if I'm correct.
Right. Yeah.
They had a really fun match. So I think we're going to have a good time with this Fatal Four-Way, but I think Okada's going to retain.
I agree it's going to be a great match, but what fun would it be if I just agreed with you all show? So I'm going to dissent on this. I think we're getting a new champion.
I love it.
We're getting a new champion. Mark it down. New champion
like
at All Out. Give me Konosuke Takeshita. I think he's
winning it.
I think he's winning it here. I don't think he pins Okada, though. I think Mark Briscoe takes the fall. And I think it sets up Konosuke and Okada for the title going forward. And ideally, you it's kind of like a weird spot right now where like the Don Callis family is like, are they baby faces right now? I don't know.
They need to figure that out. That's the one thing I don't like about the Don
Yeah,
Callis family. They're like these weird, like Don Callis is clearly a heel. Like you
yeah,
can't take that away from him. But all his guys
yeah.
are like tweener baby faces. I don't know.
Give
It's
me
weird.
Takeshita cheating to win the title. And Okada's getting the biggest babyface reaction of almost anybody on the show. So he needs to be a babyface anyway. Give me that program moving forward.
I like that a lot. I actually do think that's a great idea
Mm,
to have Takeshita win here because I think ultimately what we are building to is that Okada Takeshita singles match.
mm,
And I think that's going to be built up to in the Continental Classic where they're
yeah,
on separate sides and then both of them win their sides and they face off for
yeah,
that Continental Championship. And I think it would actually work better if you do go that route where Okada's a babyface, if Konosuke Takeshita cheats to win and Okada has to fight through the
mm,
Continental Classic to regain that title
yeah.
against Konosuke Takeshita.
And let's be very clear. Takeshita needs the title more than Okada does. Okada can just be Okada, and he's going to be the biggest, one of the biggest stars in the company. So,
Yeah, and like you said in this match, you could protect Okada by not even having him get pinned
yes,
in this matchup. So I like that prediction a lot. I'm going to stick with Okada, but I
yeah.
do like your theory about Takeshita possibly winning this championship.
Okada's a strong number two, so I can't fault you there. But this match was kind of tied into on Dynamite. It was made official on Dynamite. The Young Bucks are going to be defending their AEW Tag Team Championship against the Blackpool Combat Club, the team of Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. Um, I think this is going to be a good match. Very confident the Young Bucks are going to win, but I don't know. I don't. Man, I love Claudio as an in-ring performer, but I think it's true what they've been saying about him for years. Like, he just struggles to like. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. They're boring. I'm sorry. Claudio and Wheeler are boring. They may be good wrestlers, and I've met Wheeler in real life multiple times. He's a very nice man, but yeah, it's the Young Bucks for me, no question.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's clearly the Young Bucks. The thing about Claudio
Mm,
is I had high hopes for him in AEW when he moved over
mm,
because there's all this talk about how WWE refuses to make this guy a main event star and that once he's in AEW, he's going to be like this top talent that
mm.
everyone, loves and wants to see more of.
A
And
tale as old as time in AEW for many
exactly,
people.
but it's so evident with Claudio where it's like I just feel like I with both companies really like I don't know what it is. He just doesn't connect on some certain level that will get him to that upper echelon. I
Yeah.
love him in ring. I think and it's weird because I actually think WWE did a better job of highlighting his strengths
Yes.
in like certain matches. Whereas this, it's just kind of we're just getting a really good wrestler
Yeah.
doing wrestling matches, which is
Which is
cool. And I think that's great. But I think we need to start highlighting why Claudio is so great and have more of those kind of spots. Like the Claudio hot tag when he
yeah.
would be in like multi-man tag matches and he would just go after people. I know it's like overdone at this point on social media, much people talk about that, but that was just like it was always the most entertaining thing to
Mm,
watch. Was just him beat up dudes in like such a rapid pace and show off his speed, his strength,
yeah.
his athleticism. And I feel like we rarely get those moments now. So maybe in this match, he could go insane against the Young Bucks. I think the Young Bucks can really highlight that part of Claudio.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this match also is doing something I don't like where the trios champions are going after the tag team
I was
championships.
just about to say it. Well, you read my
Yeah.
mind.
I mean,
Because
it's just such a clear point because like they should be separate divisions. And
if
I
you're
don't
gonna have all these titles, the only reason to do it is to have each have their own lane to feature more talent.
Yeah. And I don't mind if a challenger loses like a tag team championship match and then transitions to the trios championship or vice versa.
Yeah.
But when you have the champions going after the other champions, it just muddies the waters. And
Especially when they
I
won
think
it two
it's
weeks
useless.
ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like you
Like,
could
what?
still have
Why put it
these
on
belts
then?
on the yeah, exactly. Keep it on the patriarchy if you're gonna go this route, and then you could have another match, or just put it on someone else. Put it on House of Black. Put it
Yeah.
on Bang Bang Gang. I don't care. But why? or just have one of those teams who were in that trios ladder match make one of those tag teams go after the tag team championships. Why
100%.
does it I get why it has to be Blackpool Combat Club, but if you really were set on doing this match, then don't give them the belts in the first place.
No, I completely agree. And then that point goes also towards the Bryan Danielson Jack Perry match for me too, that we'll get to later. Like, why is Jack Perry your number one contender if he's the TNT champion? Give him
Right.
his own match.
And I will say this, but I still don't think it excuses
Mm-hmm.
why the TNT champions going after
Mm-hmm.
uh Bryan Danielson and the AEW championship. They did mention that, and I forgot about this, which shows you, you know,
Yeah.
how well built this feud is. That Jack Perry did pin Bryan Danielson in Anarchy in the Arena all those months
Oh,
ago. And so that's why they're justifying him being a challenger. I still don't like it, and I think it's kind of a lame excuse, but
what
I just
happened
want
to
to
the
throw that
ranking
out there in
system?
case people are like, well, you like Sami Zayn going
Yeah.
after Gunther. And it's like that. I feel like that's different because Sami Zayn beat Gunther in a one-on-one match.
Sami Zayn's not a champion. He needs something to
Right.
go after. Jack
No,
Perry's a
but
defending champion.
no, exactly. That's my point. But I'm saying if Sami Zayn wanted to
Yeah.
use that same logic and he still had the Intercontinental Championship, at least it was in a singles match where he beat Gunther and it wasn't in like
Yeah.
a 5-on-5 dealio where he
Yeah.
randomly pinned Gunther. I don't know. I just think it's false equivalencies from people I see who are bad faith on either side. So
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. And but again, I don't like champions going after other champions. It seems useless to me.
Yeah. I agree. All right. So we're both in agreement that the Young Bucks are going to retain here. The next match we should talk about, we'll wait till we get to the AEW Championship match since that's like a main event. Let's talk about the TBS Championship. Mercedes Moné defending against Hikaru Shida. Surprising that they've moved on so quickly from the Britt Baker stuff. I thought that was very surprising. There's got to be stuff clearly going. We know there's some stuff going on backstage.
I was about to say, I wonder what could
Yeah.
have happened where Britt Baker would quickly move out of the title picture.
Um, Also, while we're on this note, before we get to our official predictions, no women's championship match, just the mid card women's title on this card, which is interesting. But anyway, we got Mercedes and we got Shida. Good match, I'm sure, but let's be very clear. This is a no brainer. Mercedes Moné is retaining, obviously.
Yeah, I will mention something because I don't have a lot of thoughts on Mercedes Moné and Hikaru Shida. We literally saw this match a few weeks ago going into All In, which is why I think it's kind of silly that we're seeing it at All Out. It'll probably be a fine match, but I just have no real reason to be interested in it.
No, none.
As far as Mariah May not having a match, I can understand to an extent. Like they want to keep the match card short. It's 2 weeks after All Out. I think you want more time to build to either a Mariah May Tony Storm rematch or Mariah May and Jamie Hayter.
Yeah.
So I think I actually am glad they didn't rush into a women's championship match. But again, you got to do a better job of making Mariah May feel like a big time champion.
Yeah. And a win over Nyla Rose isn't going to do it. Sorry, buddy. But Nyla Rose has lost too many times for me to care.
Right.
She's like
she's just like they put her on the show to be like, look, it's the girl who is on the first AEW show.
Yeah, literally. Like I'm trying to think of like a WWE equivalent. It's like beating the Big Show in WWE. It's like, oh,
or the Miz.
Yeah, like all right,
even
cool.
like just a guy who we see on TV all the time. And it's like, look, it's a former champion. It's like, no, this is a guy we see lose all the time.
Yeah. So okay, we both agree there. Next up, let's talk about for the AEW International Championship, not the American Championship. Get it right, kids. International Championship. Will Ospreay defending against Pac in what is sure to be the match of the night. And, again, like we said earlier, they just put the titles on Pac. They just made him a trios champion. They just put him into the Blackpool Combat Club. And what do? Here's a singles title to go after for no real reason. Ospreay's retaining, obviously. You had mentioned it or alluded to it earlier. We think we know who his real next challenger is going to be. Man, I mean, I'm excited for the match. Don't get me wrong; it's going to be a banger, as one Celtic warrior likes to say. But yeah, Osprey's going to win, and it'll be a good match.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see this be a match of the night contender, a potential match of the year contender for that matter,
Yeah.
because it seems like Will Ospreay always has match of the year contenders. I will say, I feel like it's not as egregious that Pac is going after the singles title when he has a trios title because you could have tag title guys go after the singles title.
Mm,
I think that's okay. But in the other instance where a tag title is going after another tag title, no. Or a singles
yeah.
title going after another singles title, I'm not for that. Unless you're doing again like a belt collector gimmick, and in that case, I'd rather be interpromotional than within the same promotion.
Right.
And it's clear that Jack Perry's not doing that. So I think this match is going to be awesome. I'm very much looking forward to it. I like their chemistry they had in the ring on Dynamite during the 6-man tag.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I really do think Pac is like severely underrated. Like
Oh
people sleep
yeah.
on how awesome Pac is in the ring. Like even him and Orange Cassidy in the ring on Wednesday, I was like, man, that I wanted to go back and watch that match from Revolution all those years ago because that match was awesome. Like it was like it felt like Orange Cassidy was fresh in our minds and Pac really played into his character well. I'd love to see those two go at it again. But Will Ospreay and Pac, looking forward to it. Gonna be awesome. But again, obvious Will Ospreay retention.
Yep. Obvious retention here. Um, all right. Moving on. Well, we both before we move on, we both agree Ricochet and Osprey is the next thing, right?
Oh yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I think well, Ricochet will come out after this match, and
Yeah.
they'll do like a bigger stare down.
Stare down.
Maybe they do their flippy do thing to get the
Ooh.
crowd excited, and then they do like that Marvel pose,
Ooh,
and
nice.
then
Take
that
a
gets
shot
everyone
for every
excited.
flippy do.
Yes, I will not because I have work the next day.
Yeah, smart man. All right. Next, let's talk about for no title. I think this is the no, okay, no, that's not. It's one of two non-title matches on the card. MJF versus Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia's biggest match of his career, if you ask me. I think that goes without. I think that's pretty agreed upon. Um, I think the question of who needs it more is very obvious. Daniel Garcia needs this win here. However, MJF is getting the win. I don't see them having MJF lose two big matches 2 weeks in a row, like as far as all in and then all out. I think there's more in, as a wise man once said, Will, booking for the rematch. Um, I think MJF somehow gets a Dynamite Diamond ring that he lost, and he gets the win over Daniel Garcia here, and we set up another match later down the road. But I agree, Daniel Garcia's win is coming, but it's just it's not going to be at all out, unfortunately.
All right, well, I'm going to disagree with you, buddy.
Hell
I
yeah.
think Daniel Garcia is in fact going to get the win. His contract is coming up with AEW. What better way to seal the deal than to give him a big win against one of your top guys?
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, you said booking for the rematch. It's interesting that you said booking for the rematch and having MJF win this one because I think character wise, it's more interesting for MJF to lose, and especially with him like devolving and like kind of unraveling over the
Mm-hmm.
fans not liking him anymore. I think having Daniel Garcia get like a shock pin, like maybe jackknife style over the
Mm-hmm.
legs, where MJF doesn't see it coming, him getting the win and MJF just flips out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's more interesting because then we could kind of see him explode
Yeah.
and then kind of really tap into that next gear that MJF's character needs to tap into. And at the same time, you're also giving a big win to Daniel Garcia, who really needs it at this point.
Yeah, he
Like
really does.
if you really want to elevate Daniel Garcia to that next level, he needs to beat one of the top guys. And I feel like last time they did it with Daniel Bryan or Brian Danielson,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it was cool for like a few months, but then they kind of dropped the ball on it. Now that he's kind of gotten more respect from the fans and the fans really want to see him succeed, I think this MJF win or this win over MJF will have a lasting effect on this audience and will truly bring him to that next level.
I like it. I think no matter what, there's story to play with, which I'm excited about. And for a lot of these matches on the card, it's very predictable. I think this one is probably is not as predictable. So I'm excited to see what happens here. Can I give you a top rope take?
Yes, let's do it.
Yes. Here we go. Sound the alarm. We'll put it on the notes. We need to get an alarm.
Woo! That
Woo, woo. Top rope take. You ready?
ready for it.
I want to see MJF get the win with the assistance of Mr. Mayhem Wardlow.
Whoa.
Give Wardlow something to do. Come on, bring him back with MJF. He's done nothing since. You can find out a reason why. You know what? Who cares? He's whatever. What's he doing? Is he hurt? Well, he was with the United Undisputed Kingdom or something like, and then I haven't seen him in months.
I think he might be in your favorite place in the world, the Performance Center.
Oh, I thought you were going to say why did you say that? And I thought you were saying he's in Disney World. I was like, all right, he's on vacation. Really, you think so?
No. I don't. I was
No.
just messing with you. But I do think that Wardlow. It's interesting that you said that because now I'm thinking Wardlow could come out and cost MJF, and that
Ooh.
could, they could run that back because they were kind of. It was weird. They teased it when MJF had his title run.
Mm-hmm.
And the only real payoff we got was that he was in the Undisputed Kingdom. And then he kind of just went away.
Okay.
So it would make sense if he came back and confronted Max in this match and perhaps cost him the match itself.
Okay, you ready? Fantasy book, because that's what we do here. Take my pitch of MJF getting the ring to cheat, but Wardlow comes out and stops him.
There you go.
There you go. Wardlow and Daniel Garcia. I don't hate it.
Okay, sure.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Give him
I don't
something
think
to do,
it'd be
man.
like they would pair those two up, but I think it'd be like a mutual thing of like, yeah,
We
like
hate
we both hate.
MJF.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Justice for Mr. Mayhem.
Simple as that.
All right.
I'm
Next
glad you're
match.
trying to book Wardlow because Tony Khan was like,
They're not. Don't worry. I got pitches for Miro. I got pitches for Keith Lee. I got everything.
oh man, we should. It's almost like we should start a second show.
Yeah, right. We have so much talent. If only we had more TV time.
Oh
No,
man,
let's watch the Beast of Mordos every week. Okay. Next we have. I think there's only one more. No, there's two more matches we haven't talked about. Okay. I'm not sure
yes.
which one of these is the main event. I have a good idea. So I'm going to go with the
Well,
one that I don't think is the main event.
okay.
Bryan Danielson defending the AEW championship against Jack Perry
Yeah.
in a match that we kind of already talked about is a big old why. Danielson's retaining, obviously. I think, again, one of those matches that's very obvious on what's going to happen. The bigger question to me is what is the finish to this match? Is it straight up? Is it clean? Psycho knee to the face, 1, 2, 3. Or does somebody else get involved?
Okay, here's my prediction. I don't know how. I think Busaiku knee to the face is fine. I do think at some point in this match, Jack Perry will hit the GTS. 100%.
Oh, hilarious. Yeah, absolutely.
He's got to.
Got
I mean,
it.
they're in Chicago. It would be a great near fall. Like people are like, oh my God, no
To
way.
be honest
Especially
with you,
if like the Young Bucks like distract Danielson and they like he turns around into it, or like Young Bucks hit Danielson with the chair when the ref isn't looking, and then Jack Perry hits the GTS. I think that would be like, I think people would really buy that as like, no, come on, like you can't be serious.
I love that spot.
And then the big kick out. Danielson's gonna retain though, and I do agree with you. This won't. I mean, if you just look at AEW's history, Lights Out always goes on afterwards. So this will be like the official main event, and then they'll be like,
right.
all right, now everyone leave, but don't leave, and
Yeah.
we have a unsanctioned match for
Yes.
you.
Lights Out is unsanctioned in the same way the FTW championship is not a recognized title, even though we have statistics and graphics and storylines for it.
Yeah.
That's a great call. I actually think Jack Perry should use the GTS as a finisher, full stop.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
What else is he doing? The snare trap? Come on, we're past that.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I just think because they're in Chicago, you should do it. I
Mm,
don't think you should lean too much into it because you don't want it to be like a thing. And I'm a
right.
CM Punk fan, but like
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a thing of where he always hits GTS and fans online are like, CM Punk's just always in his head, bro.
Yeah.
Like they can't get let go of the CM Punk thing.
Can he use the
I just
Pepsi
think they could do
plunge?
it. Ooh. I mean, I wouldn't hate it because it's also like it's a top row pedigree, so it's like a double
Mm,
fuck you. I,
yeah.
you know, we're not getting paid for this. So it's a double FU
Mm,
to you know, both CM Punk and Triple H. But yeah, you could do that. You could do whatever. You could do the
okay.
running, you could do the jump up
Yeah.
knee in the corner, bulldog. You could do the whole comeback.
Gotcha. Can he come out to Cult of Personality?
uh Legally, I don't know. But definitely AFI. Like
Okay.
I think we mentioned that last week. I'd love to see him come out to AFI and have
Got
the
it.
fight shorts.
All right. So Danielson retaining. And that just leaves, well, real quick, before we get to the main event, I want to just touch on real quick a couple of matches that we're not getting on AEW All Out that maybe we will, or maybe that they're building to. Um, we talked about this last week with the whole John Moxley, Marina Shafir takeover stuff. This week on Dynamite, he kind of called out Darby Allin in a match that is sure to make everybody and their mother squeamish. Are we getting that at All Out, or is that coming at a later date?
I don't think we're getting it all. I think it'll be like an advertised match. What I am curious about is do we get a segment somewhere on this show? Because I think
Mm,
this show could benefit from having at least one segment
mm,
involving John Moxley. He should make an appearance. Do they do the talk that John Moxley wants to have with Darby Allin on this show? Like, does
okay.
Darby Allin finally come out? They do the talk, and then ultimately they leave us on a cliffhanger where John Moxley is like, I think you're tough, kid. Do you want to join this collective that we're doing?
Mm,
And that Darby Allin doesn't give a straight yes or no. He's like, find out on Dynamite. So it's another
yeah.
reason to tune in. And I think it elevates the story more, or
Mm,
definitely gets more interest involved. I gotta say, I'm still kind of on the fence with the Moxley stuff, but this week definitely made me like, okay, I want to see
mm,
your next move. I want to see
right.
where this goes. So I'll give it a thumbs up in that regard.
Okay. Now, Will, $1 million question. Are we getting Shane McMahon at All Out?
I'm gonna predict Shane McMahon on every show until he shows up. I'm gonna predict him on every Dynamite,
Watch
every pay
NXT
per
this week
view.
for Shane McMahon.
Ah, man, I don't. I think they're that. I'm glad you asked that right after the Moxley thing because I am curious to see if that is part of this whole
Mm,
deal. But man, I also where do you debut him? Like that's the whole thing. Is like what? Because if they weren't going to do it at All In, it's like where does he come in? It almost
mm.
makes me think that he's not coming in at all, which I probably should have thought from the beginning.
Does he
But
appear on Dynamite? Does he just appear on Dynamite?
I think because I think you want the rating boost, so you can't really
Mm,
do like a surprise on Dynamite like
yeah.
that. And I don't think Tony Khan's big announcement has any ratings pull anymore. So I think if you debut him, it's got to be on a big show. So honestly, if there, it's as good a chance as any that he shows up at All Out. But I think you could do it at any show. It could be Wrestle Dream. It could be Full Gear. It could be
Yeah.
whenever you're ready, whenever it makes sense storyline wise to bring him in, bring him in. Then
Ray, I just had an idea.
okay,
You ready for this?
sure.
This might be a rare two top rope take. What if we've been pitching Shane McMahon to be part of the elite, right? That's
Yes.
kind of where we assume is going to happen. What if it's the opposite? What if Shane McMahon debuts to help his former SmackDown GM, Brian Danielson?
I was waiting for the. I was like, okay, yeah, Brian Danielson. Yeah, that could be a good swerve. Like he teases that he's going to be a
Mm,
part of the elite, but then he helps
mm,
Brian Danielson. My whole thing is like, then where do you go? Like, is he going to be like his manager? Like that's
mm.
interesting, I guess. Or what is he just anti-elite? Like it's like the elite versus Tony Khan and Shane McMahon.
Yeah,
Like he's the new Christopher Daniels since they took out
yeah.
Christopher Daniels. I actually would like that a lot if they wanted him to be like the voice the mouthpiece for Tony Khan, because
Hmm.
I feel like Christopher Daniels. I like Christopher Daniels a lot. I didn't buy him in that role. He felt like
Yeah.
budget Adam Pierce.
Hmm.
Shane McMahon actually could be a viable
Yeah.
uh, person to be involved as a authority figure
Like
on
a
Dynamite.
foil to the elite as a part of just joining them.
Right.
The contract says McMahon.
Exactly.
Shane
And it does say
McMahon.
McMahon this time. There's no Shane. They could replay that whole thing from ROH. There's no Shane. There is a Shane this time.
That's right. That's right. All right. Let's get to our main event tonight. Uh, it is the blood feud of the year. Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, unsanctioned steel cage. Um, man, can't wait. It's gonna be bloody. What do we got?
This is a tough. This is definitely the toughest to call because I think storyline wise, we mentioned it on a
Mm,
couple matches, but this one it could really go either way. The whole thing about Hangman saying to Swerve like you can't beat me without outside interference. I am curious if because this is a lights out, and in previous lights out matches, it's been it's not documented or it
mm.
doesn't count as like a win loss on the win loss record, which they don't really have anymore. Um, but so I'm curious to see if they do the Swerve thing and then Hangman's like, you didn't really beat like that doesn't count. Like
Mm.
it was lights out. Like you can't beat me. Like constantly being like, you can't really beat me. But I think it also makes more sense if Hangman gets the win and Swerve has to then chase that win over Hangman and
Mm.
ultimately does get it in a sanctioned match
Right.
somewhere down the line. But I think, uh, yeah, it's tough. I'm gonna go with Hangman though. I think Hangman gets the win here, and because it feels like even though this has been a feud that's been building a while, I think there's still room for it to continue. And with it going to Washington at Wrestle Dream, I think it makes sense for Swerve to then get that win in Tacoma.
You know, Will, I'd love to disagree with you, but I'm not going to do that now because I agree with you that Hangman is probably going to win this one. This is actually this entire feud feels very similar to me to Punk McIntyre over on WWE. And I think we see a similar thing play out where Hangman is the McIntyre in the situation, where he is the justified heel who is obsessed with getting revenge on his babyface foil. I
And they
think
both hate CM Punk.
and they all hate CM Punk.
It all comes
That's
full
right.
circle.
Um, but I agree, Hangman gets the win here, and I do think we then see Hangman try and move on to bigger and better things, only to be foiled by a Swerve Strickland who's not done with him yet.
100%. Yeah, I think this feud will continue. And I do think I did mention Will Ospreay and Pac being a match of the night contender. I think this could also be up
Oh, for
there as
sure.
some people's match of the night and perhaps match of the year contender, depending on how into you are with the this whole feud between Swerve and Hangman.
Right.
Real quick, what'd you think about Hangman burning down Swerve's childhood house on Dynamite? Holy
Jeez.
moly.
Yeah.
What a fire. And just for Hangman to sit stoically in
What
the
a
chair
man. What a
while
shot.
beautiful, and you had one take to do that. So
Yeah.
like Hangman did not flinch. He was not concerned about it. It looked like the table was going to catch fire. He didn't even bother worrying about that. He looked awesome doing that. So I
Yeah.
felt like even though
Iconic.
it felt like where more how much further could this feud go? I feel like they've hit that ceiling now and burning down the house.
He looked like the
So
meme of the dog surrounded by fires. Like, this is
yeah.
fine.
Exactly. It was so funny. There was a report that came out that the old Titan Towers was for sale,
Oh,
and then
no.
someone photoshopped a picture of Tony Khan burning down the Titan Towers while he's sitting down on the couch. Oh, so
So good. So good. Well,
we'll see.
that is it for our AEW prediction show. Thank you so much for listening. Before we go real quick, I do just want to plug one more thing. I recently did an interview with Patrick Price, who is a name that not many of you probably know, but you know his work. He is a current producer and editor for AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. He also ran production and creative for Premier Wrestling Experience, or PWX, in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is one of the top indies in the country that's gotten every big name over the last 10 years to come through it. So if you're a wrestling fan, check out that interview. We're going to be posting that up soon. He's got some really great insight on anyone in the business and anyone who wants to get into the business. So check that out. Will,
Yeah.
anything?
Just final words on that. Definitely go check out that interview. It's
Mm,
going to be awesome. And we're back next week. Normal schedule this time. We've been kind of,
mm.
a little off the ball on the schedule. We just have kind of conflicting schedules in the past 2 weeks,
Yeah,
but
we
we
have
will
lives,
be back.
people.
We will be back Tuesday for our all out review, as well as reviewing Raw and all that good stuff.
Yes.
Probably chirping at each other more, I
Mm-hmm.
imagine, after this weekend,
We'll
first
never
week of
stop.
football as well. So we'll have that to pile on as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, looking forward to all that, and take care, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.